Sun cast a shadow, a digital line is coming over the mountain and over your mind. Double down your Bitcoin, hang on for the ride. We're moving into the future, one block at a time. We're moving into the future, one block at a time.
Welcome to Once Upon a Coin, documenting the ongoing history of blockchain and cryptocurrency. I'm your storyteller, Jason Cassidy, and do I ever have a story for you today? So sit back, go grab something to drink. You might even want to grab something to snack on because I'm about to take you on an incredible journey. I'm pumped for this episode because the Metaverse topic is one that is near and dear to me, specifically Metaverse real estate. I like it so much, in fact, that I was crazy enough to co-found Metaverse Group, the world's first Metaverse-based real estate company. Now, the term Metaverse has been around for a long time. A shared virtual space where users from the physical world can seamlessly engage in activities like sports, shopping, even attending an in-world concert that mimics the physical world experience. But as of yet, the Metaverse really hasn't delivered all that much to us. So while today's blockchain-based metaverses fall dramatically short on delivering the mind-reeling experiences presented to us by Hollywood with movies such as Ready Player One, for at least one metaverse, the potential for grand-scale future adoption means that humanity may still make good on this promise after all. This is the story of Decentraland. Decentraland is a blockchain-based metaverse that exists on the Ethereum network. This 3D virtual world allows users to freely explore all the buildings, attractions, and artistic creations that exist within its virtual borders. Users can interact with each other as well as their environment. You are represented by an avatar in the metaverse, a digital reflection of your physical self. What's even cooler is that you can actually pimp out your avatar with various accessories in the form of wearables, aka digital fashion or NFT fashion. Created by Ari Melik and Esteban Ordano, Decentraland, or DCL as it's known in the metaverse space, became a thing back in 2015 when the two Argentinian founders decided development would start on their grand idea.
Decentraland, we know that the metaverse is happening. This is going to be a new medium. This is going to be something that affects how we shape our relationships in our daily lives. And we truly believe that if the medium is a message, no one needs to be the owner of this message. So that our community and anyone can basically run a server and create their own version of Decentraland. Decentraland doesn't need to be something created from the foundation. Actually, what we are doing, our mission at the foundation is building or putting together the building blocks for this open protocol. It's more like how can we deliver something that creates value and can be sustainable in the future, and people can really be the owners of this.
Having the chance to build something in a new way without the restrictions of kind of like the old world. We're a decentralized platform, but we're also, a group of very decentralized thinkers. So within the team that I work in, it's the best environment I've ever worked in my life, and with the best people. And so we've built many things that I'm proud of, but actually just having that group of people and what they achieve time and time again and being allowed to be part of that is amazing.
When we set the original vision of Decentraland, the idea was to build a virtual world owned by its users and all the assets owned by its citizens. We truly believe that was a technology that will change the world. We believe that the next frontier in human-computer interfaces would be VR. We wanted to make sure that the protocol and the technology that's beneath that reality, it's open source, and we don't want to live in a world owned by a private company.
In a nutshell, Decentraland is just one big map of Genesis City, a virtual world that's been broken down into just over 90,000 individual parcels of land. There are roads, private land, districts, and Genesis plazas. Roads and Genesis plazas are owned and developed exclusively by the Decentraland team, while investors and hobbyists are freely able to own and develop both private land and in some cases district land as well. Districts are areas on the map that have their own communities and are dedicated to a distinct theme, be that art, fashion, sports, collectibles, or education. Private lands are lands that have no set purpose and can be used by the user as almost like a blank canvas to build their own creation. The currency of Decentraland is called Mana, an ERC20 token. Mana is what fuels the DCL Metaverse, and if you find yourself wanting to engage in Decentraland in any meaningful way, you're eventually going to find that you need some of it. Purchasing a parcel of land, buying an NFT wearable like a virtual jacket, or even getting a ticket to an art exhibit in World, they all require the Mana token. It's also worth noting here that the Decentraland team has really embraced the concept of an open metaverse, as they freely allow other ERC-based tokens to exist within their virtual realm. You could make a lot of money on the Mana token as well. For instance, it traded as low as 1 penny US at one point, and it exceeded $5 US a token back in November of 2021. However, as the name suggests, Decentraland is really about the land and what you can do with it. So let's take a look. A parcel of land in Decentraland is 16 by 16 meters. And if you run out of room to build horizontally, you can go vertical. Your build height is determined by how many connected lands that you have. The more connected lands that you have, the higher your build allowance. You can think of this as zoning enforcement that encourages users to acquire more land so that they can further build out their scenes and experiences. A single piece of land is called a parcel, and two or more connected parcels is called an estate. Looking at a parcel provides a user information such as its XY coordinates, its relative location to landmarks such as roads and Genesis plazas, along with full ownership and price history. And just like in physical real estate, there is money in them bar virtual hills. A lot of it, in fact. The price for a parcel of land has fluctuated greatly over time. Currently, you can buy yourself a small piece of virtual paradise in the boonies of Genesis City for about $1,500. That gets you a single parcel of land. And that just gets your foot in the door. If you want to set up shop in some of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Genesis City, be prepared to fork out between $50,000 and $100,000 US for some of the most desirable parcel locations. But this gets even crazier when you look at estates. An estate being two or more parcels of land connected together. Some of the estates in DCL are hundreds of parcels in size and have fetched some truly mind-blowing numbers. The largest estate sale to date comes in at a whopping $2.4 million US. The estate boasts 116 parcels and resides in the up-and-coming Fashion District. I know quite a bit about this historic sale, but more on that a bit later. If you're not the property flipping type and you're not looking to build on your land right away either, well, I've got good news for you. There's a rental feature built into the DCL marketplace that with a few clicks allows you to become your own digital landlord and start earning a residual income on your land. So now that we've gone over the basics of Decentraland, let's get back to the story. With all the pieces in place, after many years of preparation, Decentraland finally held their ICO, initial coin offering, of the Mana token in August of 2017, raising over $26 million US in just 35 seconds. Yep, it happened that quick. ICOs were a very pervasive way for blockchain companies to raise capital and give investors early access to the underlying coin or token. Shortly after this took place, DCL held its very first land sale called the Terraform event. Over 70,000 parcels of land were sold, and much like the Mana token sale that had just taken place, this too was wildly successful. In March of 2018, DCL launched its dedicated marketplace for the buying and selling of land. This is the first time that a true economy begins to form around Decentraland, as investors and builders can review Genesis City via the 2D map and spend virtual money on tiny colored pixels. When I started my own journey in the metaverse, this is where I eventually ended up, the Decentraland marketplace, staring at a map of tiny colored pixels and wondering what the hell I was doing. Back then, the market was just too young to have any fundamentals to go off of, and useful information to conduct research was hard to come by. In my search for knowledge, I eventually ran into Maddie, better known in the NFT space as DCL Blogger, an early adopter to Decentraland and something of a metaverse real estate mogul. He put out consistently high quality content and helped fuel the early days of the DCL marketplace, which was a wild time.
So in 2018, when I got involved, people were trading virtual land through a Discord DM and a trust-based system where we would send someone a mana token and then you would trust them enough to send the land back through blockchain. And then slowly there was a marketplace that went up there and suddenly you could see what people were listing their land values at. The crypto space boomed, all tokens went nuts, and then 2018 that started to cool off. So a lot of people that had bought into the virtual land idea, they made great money, but they wanted to sell their land in 2018 when they sort of needed that money, right? People that had bought at the auction had 100, 200 lands, and they were like, Maddie, I need to sell all of this in the next 2 weeks. Is there a way I could do this in one shot? And I would be that what's called a liquidity provider. There were so many deals to be done, and it was exciting because there was so much activity there of people buying and selling lands. Brands and businesses and large investors were coming in with, hey, you know what? I want to build a game here. So Maddie, this is awesome land you have. Can I buy it off you for X amount of money? And sometimes you get really good offers for lands that you bought for 1/5 of the price. It was very new to a lot of people, and that was where the fun was. The joy was trying to figure out an economy that was completely new. And if you knew how it worked and you were one of the very few people, you had a tremendous advantage for that whole industry.
Decentraland now had its own vibrant secondary market forming around its real estate, something that drew the attention of the outside world. In fact, the BBC did a piece on Decentraland in the early days of the marketplace, showcasing the potential for investment in the metaverse. During this time, district leaders are anointed and tasked with overseeing the future development of their district, as well as growing the niche communities that were beginning to form around them. The metaverse wasn't live yet, so there really wasn't any established hotspots on the map outside of Genesis plazas, top districts, and roadside for the hypothetical additional visibility and foot traffic your land would eventually receive. It was all speculation, buying up virtual land in the new world before anyone had settled down yet and built anything. This is where serious investors did very, very well. They took the extra effort required to find out valuable information regarding the map. An example of this is knowing who the large landholders were and what, if anything, they planned to develop on their land. If you knew of a location that was going to have something impressive developed when the metaverse went live, you could easily purchase land in that area beforehand and benefit. Conversely, if you had a project you wanted to build, you had little competition to deal with when it came to setting up shop at a fair price. All the while in the background, the Decentraland team kept getting closer and closer and closer to what everyone was waiting for: the go-live date of the Decentraland Metaverse, the public launch. And on February 20th, 2020, the visions of co-founders Arlie Mellick and Esteban Ordano finally came to fruition. Decentraland kicked off its public launch with landowners, businesses, investors, and curious onlookers now able to enter the metaverse.
February 2020. I'm pretty sure that was the time and date when Decentraland went live, and I was there for it. I remember being super nervous because for 2 years I was talking about how Decentraland is an awesome project. Will expectations meet the last 2-3 years of hype around the idea, around the virtual land economy, where I think pretty sure till that day it had seen $100 million plus in land trading activities. Some people had bought lands in the tens of millions of a portfolio. So there was tremendous expectation for the launch date of Decentraland. And so I remember jumping in it. I went around, saw some people. It was super laggy. It crashed. It did a lot of things, but it had to be done, right? They had to launch, they had to get people in there. And the beautiful thing about Decentraland is the people behind it understand that you just put product out there, you see the feedback that's given, and then you reiterate that feedback to make it better and better over time.
With a live metaverse ready to explore, users began coming in and, well, not doing a whole lot. You see, the metaverse wasn't built out yet, so outside of a few ambitious creators and the Decentraland team deploying some Genesis plazas, there really wasn't much to look at outside of a bunch of vacant virtual land. Thus is the fate of a new world that hasn't been colonized yet. However, as each month passed, more scenes were deployed to lands and more events began to take place. Sometimes this is DCL ran events like scavenger hunts, and other times it was user-driven experiences like art shows or games that you can actually play by engaging in the 3D environment itself. In lockstep, more land sales were taking place with higher prices being fetched now that you could actually do something with the land. Things were moving along at a slow but steady pace. And then 2021 happened and everything went completely ballistic.
When you think about the metaverse, if you project it onto cinema, we're in the days of silent movies. We have decades and decades of innovation and new inventions and different ways of doing things before we get to the Star Wars blockbuster CGI movie that we all know now. Like, hopefully within the next 12 months, we start to add better lighting, better shaders, as we improve the performance issues and move to different, like a desktop client, we can now start to improve the graphics and have a better visual look. So the big thing, of course, is going to be the VR client, which will be a whole new way of interacting with Decentraland.
The crypto bull market of 2021 was truly legendary, with a seemingly endless amount of unique and compelling stories to talk about. Decentraland was front and center for this movement as the metaverse went mainstream. As the bull market heated up, the word metaverse became a household term. And suddenly, MSNBC and Bloomberg were even talking about the metaverse. It was now every venture capitalist's dream and every speculative investor's holy grail. Metaverse coins and metaverse land NFTs. Heck, even Facebook got involved by changing their name to Meta and announced their own plans for a metaverse. The greater NFT bonanza propelled the metaverse to new levels, and DCL rode those waves to some dizzying heights. Unlike other startup metaverses in the blockchain space, Decentraland was the very first to market, so they had the added benefit of actually having a live metaverse during this time period. It wasn't just all pure speculation here either that the team would eventually build something. They already had, and they were building an economy around it. This is when the crazy mana and land parcel prices began to take place. It all just helped to fuel even more growth across the board as investors kept piling in. It's at this point that Decentraland goes from an under-the-radar investment that's been predominantly driven by the individual crypto investor and evolves into a place where institutional money is looking to invest. An explosion of activity took place. 3D metaverse designers that could build you anything your mind could conjure up. Real estate companies buying up and developing out prime land. Investment funds giving investors a way into the space without having to learn the ins and outs of Web3, and major events being run in the metaverse on the regular that were drawing in some serious crowds. This all led to some big companies taking notice and getting involved themselves. You really had to experience this moment in time to fully appreciate how hot the metaverse hype cycle got here.
So 2 years ago, I made a prediction that every major brand in the world would have a metaverse strategy within 24 months. And I was wrong. It took 6 months. Within 6 months, every major brand in the world had invested money in and created a strategy to understand how they could fit in and how they'd function within the metaverse that was being created.
Big brands are choosing to build and host events in Decentraland, I think primarily because Decentraland is hosting initiatives that create a compelling story to attract big brands to participate.
Today we are giving away things like NFTs and other things that give token-gated or token experiences, and that is extremely important to those brands.
The brand wants to set up their own experience and continue to stay involved. In addition to that, Decentraland is the first mover in the metaverse.
It's got a great decentralized economy. It's a great place for a brand to dip their toe in, to learn about virtual worlds, but it does provide value in the sense if I want to be in a decentralized world, I want to expose and show that I am involved in Web3 and into creators and all those other things, it's a great place to start.
If you look at the Zalpha generation, which is really kids who are born digital, this is how they are operating. They don't go to malls, they don't watch TV, they stream and they shop online. And they play and socialize inside metaverses like Decentraland. If you want to be relevant in 10 years, you have to start attaching yourself to these metaverses. You have to build a presence in order to access and attract this new consumer. Just to put into perspective, the Zalpha generation, They're going to be about 40% of the workforce and have about $4 trillion of buying power, especially as the baby boomers pass away and start transferring their money down to millennials, Gen Zs, and alphas.
It's been great seeing all the interest from the brand, the media, etc. People that are taking this seriously, they know that this is going to change many lives. This is going to be a new medium that it will change how how we humans interact with each other, right? The Metaverse is still on its infancy, but we are starting to see where this can go. And it's great to see all these different brands and communities especially getting involved into something that is going to be a new medium.
But what goes up must eventually come back down. And in early 2022, the bull market was officially over, and Metaverse prices, along with interest, began to recede from their all-time highs. Reality began to settle in as the quick and easy money vanished, and short-term profit seekers left the virtual city limits of Decentraland. It was becoming clear that the real value in the Metaverse lay in its utility. People being able to enjoy a shared experience that seamlessly integrated the best parts of the physical world into the virtual. Today, Decentraland looks nothing like its early days at public launch, when you could literally run around the Metaverse for 10 minutes straight without seeing anything of real interest. Events are now being run daily, land is being actively developed, and the marketplace has expanded to support wearables for your avatar, along with other cool NFT items. The interface also has a lot more cool features, and the amount of unique experiences that you can take part in and engage in has greatly expanded to encompass new areas of life.
A unique moment for me was the Metaverse Music Festival, in which I had the chance to see some legends such as deadmau5 or Ozzy Osbourne jumping to a stage and making a show in Decentraland. Those are moments I won't ever forget.
Big companies are also embracing Decentraland, with names like Dolce & Gabbana, Samsung, Adidas, and Coca-Cola all getting involved in various ways. These companies are making a bet early on that this is the future of, well, everything. This really could be a new way of life for many people, and with advancements like improved VR capability on deck, there's reason to believe that user adoption will continue to grow.
So the future of Decentraland is focused on Web3 users and continue pushing what is possible on a blockchain-based metaverse. I can see Decentraland expanding to the VR platform. We're seeing a big push in hardware manufacturers for VR, and that's the ultimate frontier of Decentraland.
Some of the districts have also grown since the early days and developed their lands with some truly cool stuff. For example, the Las Vegas district, one of the largest and developed in Decentraland, has a host of activities and businesses that are operating today.
Vegas City is home to a variety of content. Decentral Games and other operators acquired land on which to build casinos, and a variety of games have been created. But Vegas City, like its real-world counterpart, is not just about gaming. It is home to a large variety of other content, including major sports IP such as the Legoland and the Australian Open Grand Slam tournament. The most recent addition to Vegas City has been the well-known TV franchise The Voice, who have created the Voice studios in the district.
Another district that is thriving these days is the Fashion District. Fashion is the perfect use case for blockchain tech in the Web3 era, and fashion incumbents have taken notice. And just like in the physical world, people enjoy expressing themselves via how they look in the Metaverse. NFT fashion is becoming big business, and companies like Metaverse Group are helping fashion brands make sense of the Metaverse, as well as expand their business to include a virtual complement to the physical. A perfect example of this is the annual Metaverse Fashion Week event held within Decentraland. The event sees some of the biggest fashion luxury brands showing off their virtual creations on the digital runway.
We have invested heavily in the fashion district because we think there's a very strong tie between fashion brands and the metaverse.
We're going to care about what we look like in these virtual worlds. I'm going to care about what persona, and some days I might want to wear a wild and crazy, call it outfit because I'm in an outgoing mood, and other days I might want to look just like I am today because I'm talking to a bunch of people about important things like the metaverse. So I think, fashion plays an extremely important role in our future in these virtual worlds.
The fashion district in Decentraland is an area within the city that's been categorized solely for fashion. So in taking a step back, Decentraland is an organized city. It's an organized Web3 city that has different neighborhoods. There is a gaming section, there's an education section, there is places where there are clubs and places to socialize, and there's also a fashion district. You can hold things like fashion shows, you can sell clothing for avatars via the NFT technology.
Right now, Metaverse Group owns the largest estate in the Fashion Street District and the location that the Fashion Week is hosted in and where all these brands have started to build. There are currently iconic businesses, iconic international fashion companies like Dolce & Gabbana, Forever 21, Ellie Saab, Etro, DKNY.
But once a year, we have this amazing event called Metaverse Fashion Week. The first year, we had about 60 brands that were on our land, and we hosted them, and we also created some of the game experiences that happened on our land.
Why not create this very large event where all types of brands can come in and create things that are either very realistic or fantastical, up to them, and we bring in musical guests, we have avatar models and giveaways and parties and a whole bunch of different things as a way of attracting an audience. It's a way of combining the audience of people who use the metaverse and big brands to access and to educate this entirely new audience on who they are.
We did Forever 21 as an example. We got 74 million media impressions just for Forever 21. Dwell time was about 24 minutes people spent in the space. Overall, 1 billion media impressions were at Metaverse Fashion Week. So huge PR splash.
So as you can see, even though the crypto bull market may be over, there is still a lot happening in the Decentraland metaverse. And honestly, as a crypto OG, I have to say that a bear market is probably the best time to get involved in something like this. The prices are more affordable from an investment perspective, and the development focus shifts back to substance from hype. It is the ideal environment to focus on building products and services that people will one day want to use within the metaverse. Like the saying goes, if you build it, they will come. For those that believe in the metaverse long term, the veracity of this mantra will be tested in the coming years. Oh, and remember that record-breaking Decentraland estate sale for $2.4 million US? Well, I was fortunate enough to be part of a little metaverse history when I put together and made the purchase of that property on behalf of Metaverse Group. Now, as for what the future holds for Decentraland, you can expect virtual reality to become a bigger part of the conversation, Web3 integration to ramp up as e-commerce takes off, and concerts and sporting events to become a common occurrence. We can also anticipate both the creative and computational limits of what can be designed and deployed in Decentraland being pushed to the max. I hope you enjoyed today's stroll down memory lane. Until next time, have fun and enjoy life, my friends. I will be back soon with another incredible story to tell you.